Welcome to the Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we're going to recap Finishers Night of Champions 2. We're also going to talk a little about us doing commentary for Fight to Win 264 here in Baltimore. We have a little bit of news to cover and then briefly talk about AIGA, the team championship qualifier that happened this weekend. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine. To my co-host,
Miranda.
Hey, doing Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We had a fun time doing commentary this weekend at Fight to Win.
Yeah.
Fight to Win 264 in Baltimore.
Yep. And then afterwards, we acted like two drunken people going to go to get tacos at Taco Bell.
I was like, hey, Miranda, you want to leave? She was like, yeah, like, you want Taco Bell? I was like, we can get Taco Bell.
And then I was like, after doing it, I was like, this was the most drunk thing I've ever done sober before.
Yeah, it was fun. So we're not going to really recap a lot about Fight to Win 264. If you want to hear us talk about that, we did commentary the entire evening. Again, love doing commentary for Fight to Win. It was awesome to have them in town. A little short on the like making of the cards. We didn't have a ton of time to like do a lot of prep beforehand, but I thought we did a good job personally. Yeah. If you want to hear us and judge it, 264, you can hear us all talk about a lot of our local people that we see a lot, which is really cool. One of the reasons I really love doing commentary for like Fight to Win when they come around and Copa Elite and Copa Virginia is that you get a chance to see a lot of people that you know locally, and you see the whole local DC, Virginia.
It's
Nova,
just weird because you can't clap. You can't get excited.
Yeah. So if you don't know, if we're going to get into the show here in a second, but when you do commentary and typically when you do like media work, in traditional sports media, you're typically not like, you're not supposed to like cheer and clap. Like you're there to kind of do media coverage. You're not there to do anything else. Yeah. And so typically in traditional media, it is considered bad form to like clap for stuff or do stuff because you're just there to sort of be objective, especially on the commentary side. Yeah. But yeah, it is a little weird. Your fight when you see you guys like that's a good submission, and you have to just like sort of talk through it.
Yeah, we got a couple high fives, but that was it.
We did get a couple high fives. Who walked over, like guys that we know, like they patted us or something that. So it was fun. Again, I love doing commentary. I love doing commentary for Fight to Win when they come in. That was main evented by Angelo Claiborne and Andrew Cockle. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But let's go into the news section first. IBJJF No-Gi Europeans happened. And I think we're not going to talk in huge depth about a lot of the people who won those because, again, it was a very busy weekend with us prepping for commentary, doing commentary, and then we're actually doing this show on the Monday. So this show will be out in about 5 hours. So just with like everything going on, we haven't had a chance to pull through a lot of the Euro stuff. It seemed much more attended than usual. Like we have a lot of big names for the IBJJF No-Gi Euros. Like historically, the Euros and the Gi, it's the first major of the year. It typically happens in January.
Well, this isn't in the Gi. This was No-Gi.
Yeah, I'm saying, but Europeans, like it's typically a big stepping stone event because guys start their year off in the Gi, and it's a big deal. Euros is a major. It's one of the Grand Slam events. But No-Gi Euros historically has been a little less, not less prestigious, but it doesn't typically have the depth of talent that we saw this year. Like there are a lot of people, like we said in our notes here, Lovato won super heavy. We had Henki Julissa out there. We had Juni Ocasio was out there. We had Gabriel Almeida won his division. Yeah. Freddie Vosgrove was there. Henki Julissa. We had a bunch of people of pretty strong note compete and go to No-Gi Euros. Like you can see, all the Instagram timeline in the IBJJF results are just like, oh yeah, it was a really, really tough tournament this year. And it is interesting because
I wonder if it's just a timing thing.
Maybe we're in a bit of a lull right now.
Timing and also lack of USADA.
Lack of USADA. Yes. Yeah. So USADA is not.
Pans and No-Gi's coming up, but maybe
people are using it as a prep event for No-Gi pans. Like again, it is still one of the majors in the No-Gi scene.
Or you're not.
You're off cycle.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was cool. There are some really cool results and subs that have come out of IBJJF Euros. If you haven't got a chance to catch it. It happened this weekend, and again, some big names, more so than we're usually used to seeing, which was neat. Any other stuff you have on Euros before we move on?
Nope.
Also in big news, came out the Monday of last week, and we recorded on Sunday. Mo Jassim stepped down from being the coordinator of ADCC, the World Championship.
I think it came out Sunday, literally as you guys were recording.
Oh, right after.
Because you were like, I just finished recording when I sent it to you.
Why is that my voice to you when I text you back?
I don't know.
So Mo, if you
that's my voice for all men.
Pretty much everyone that texts.
Every man that texts me, that's their voice.
So Mo basically ran ADCC from the World Championships from 2019 to 2024, the last 3 cycles. Before Mo, no one had ever run a second one. So you'd run it once, and there's a whole process for bidding and like putting in your application essentially to run the World Championships. Mo had run trials before. He did run some other items for ADCC prior, but he got the ADCC for 2019, did a great job with it, brought on Seth and Sean Fowler and a lot of other folks, really expanded ADCC in 2019. In 2022 and then again in 2024. And so he talked about it every cycle, like stepping down and like, this will be the last one. This will be the last one. And I think this last time with everything going on and just like, he never really intended to run it more than once and then more than twice. And the third time, like, I think it was pretty clear that he was sort of like, he wanted to push the sport forward, but wasn't going to be the runner of ADCC World Championships forever. And so we don't know who the new coordinator is going to be, but hopefully they do not kind of squander everything that got built. If you remember what ADCC looked like in like 2015, 2017, 2013 on like basketball courts in small gymnasiums, it is wild to see the growth of the sport. And I hope whoever takes on that leader for the coordinator role for ADCC is able to continue to do that and continue to sort of push the sport forward. Like it was at ADCC, it was at T-Mobile this last year. That was in 2019 like a pipe dream that would ever be possible, and it happened. So again, there was some back and forth this year between ADCC and CJI. I really hope that both events continue to flourish and like do very, very well. Mo, I think, is still in charge of the Opens in the US side and some of the trials. I think he's still doing the Brazilian trials, which he has done for a while now, and the West Coast trials, which he's run even prior to him taking over the World Championship. So again, those events will still hopefully continue to run and continue to grow. Again, I love that we have more and more and more ADCC Opens, because I think the quality that we saw at the World Championship and the quality we have of the athletes coming into that feeder is better than ever by far, because those athletes now are exposed on the US side to ADCC tournaments, ADCC rules, and scoring, not just once a year at trials. So that is kind of that's where that's at. It was, again, a big piece of news, and we're 1 week behind on it because of when we record the show.
Yeah, it's just a timing thing. I was trying to see if there was anything else, and there's nothing new that's popped up or appeared at this point.
I don't think so. But yep, so that is that. Let's see what else. I think that's the only bit of news I have. Let's go into finishers.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything else. I don't think it was a very busy week of anything, really.
Yeah, we had fight to win, finishers, and then I mean on the US side.
Yeah.
At least. We have Polaris in 2 weeks. We'll talk about that's main evented by Dante Leon to Ellis Younger and Jed Hugh and Keith Krikorian. Should be fun matches. We'll kind of talk about, most likely we'll preview that entire card next week.
Yeah.
But let's move to finishers. So finishers had a couple of matches. Again, finishers is now on YouTube, and I really like the broadcast. A little dark on the broadcast this time.
Yeah.
But I love, it was I think a 2-hour video. I think the first 35 minutes is like lead in, and then the entire event is like 7 matches, is like an hour and a half.
And the other thing is, it took, I think it was the second match where you could hear it. So sometimes, with any event, it takes a little bit of time to get kind of used to things being reported and things being said out loud.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So it took a couple rounds, but then you could hear all the refs giving their scores because they were doing the whole...
the CGI open scoring.
Yeah, the open scoring. You could hear it after a while. You just had to really pay attention between rounds.
Yeah.
Which I would like it to be on the screen, but maybe that's asking too much.
Yeah, I can just announce, like, again, its finishers is moving forward with these cards. They're now adopting the CGI rule set, which, again, I don't particularly like the rounds, but I do think that from an outsider perspective, which is kind of the goal with jiu-jitsu and we're moving forward, is like it makes a lot more sense. Hey, you have a round, and then you have Marv is playing Silent Hill upstairs. So if you hear a yell, that's what you just heard.
Oh, okay.
I
thought it was a dog, and I was like, "You don't have a dog." It's her
playing Silent Hill. Okay. It makes it easier to watch from an outsider because you're like, yep, you have a round, and then you go to the next round, and that round is scored. And so I think, although I may not be a fan of it because I'm used to like grappling one round, like I do see the merit of it, and I do like that it is pushing it to a more consistent format for outsiders to understand. I think that's a good thing. So. Where do you want to start with this for recaps?
We'll start with the first one because it's just...
Yeah, we had Cindy Ung versus Taylor Ellis at a B team. We've seen Taylor a bunch. We saw Cindy, I think, last week on the Fight Pass Invitational versus Christian Mora.
2-ish weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because
it was a Thursday. It was a Thursday card.
I was in Oklahoma, so it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Because I was physically in Oklahoma watching it.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. It was, but it was the end of the week, so it's a weird. But
yeah, when you have midweek cards, it always throws me off for what week that technically falls
The only
on.
reason I know is because I was in 3 different states, so I know I was in Oklahoma, and then the following week I was in Ohio, and I watched this in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. So, Cindy, this is an interesting. This is sort of comes back to the round thing because we don't have a lot of organizations that use rounds. I mean, in AIGA we have rounds as well.
Yeah.
Like we are seeing more organizations begin to use rounds more so than we historically have seen.
I never was a fan of competing in rounds. I wanted my 1 round and I wanted done. Like, I'm done. I didn't like 2 out of 3 either. Like,
I don't like 2 out of 3. I don't like round robin.
Yeah.
Like, round robin was great when I was like in the lower belts because it gave me more opportunity, more experience. Yeah. And then at the upper belts, I'm like, hey man, you either beat me or I beat you. Yeah, I don't want to run. I don't really want to run it back. I'll fight a different guy.
Yeah.
I had my last brown belt tournament. I had a round robin and I beat a guy and then I had to fight him 2 more times and then he beat me and then he beat me again and both are like arm bars on different arms and the arm is still like not it still was December of last year and the arm is still a little crinky and I'm like, I beat you the first time. I shouldn't have to fight you twice more. But this was interesting because it shows you kind of how people can change in the rounds. Cindy Ung, I think, wins the first round here.
She does.
And then Taylor Ellis is able to win the second 2 rounds. I thought it was a really interesting, like, almost tactics change for Ellis going into the second 2 rounds. Like, her pace really increased.
Well, the other difference was Taylor was trying to body lock pass from her knees round 1.
In the first round,
It didn't work. And so as a good competitor, probably with a coach telling you to do so, or just knowing so as a competitor. Second round, she starts passing from her feet, and she passes. Yeah. And then 3rd round, she knows how to pass from her feet now, and she passes very easily.
Yeah, it was
it was good to see too, because I really this is something I scream at people about because there's friends of ours that like to pass from their knees and it drives us completely insane because you don't want to do that.
Well, in certain situations
you don't want to do that.
Correct.
And it's not working. And come on now.
You have to change up the strategy and tactics sometimes where it's like, and so it was really cool in this match. I was like, oh, cool. Cindy got the better of the first round. I think she controlled from the guard. She was able to control more and really stifle a lot of the guard passing from Taylor. And then Taylor, that second round came across and you went, oh, you realized that just didn't work the first round. Yeah. And because it's open scoring, you lost the first round. Yeah. And so now you can have a tactical, strategic adjustment going into your next round. And I thought like the tactics and actually what happened in the match was interesting enough, but that seeing the demonstrable change of like, yes, this did not work. You felt it didn't work, and then you got reinforced in the judging scoring that it didn't work.
Well, then she got a stalling penalty for.
Then it's like, so you have a bunch of things going. Okay, cool. That round wasn't great for me. What do I need to do in the following round to change that? I think that's just awesome to see for this kind of rule set because again, it informs the athletes about what they should be doing. We did not see in traditional jiu-jitsu rules. We'll see like, cool. I don't know who won that round. Taylor Ellis might come back and do that same thing for 2 more rounds. Because she knew she was down, she had the opportunity now to go, okay, cool. Passing from my knees is not successful here. I'm not winning here. I'm losing having tried this. And late in that round, I didn't feel like I had any more success. Let me try a different tactic into a new round where I have a new scoring. It's a new opportunity for me to impose my game. And it works. And that's just such a neat thing. And why, like, although personally I'm not the biggest fan of rounds, you get moments like this that are like, oh, that was a really interesting athletic change.
And it also helps your coaching. When you're coaching the match, it helps you understand what they're looking for.
Because you get a minute with your athlete to go, cool, they did not like that. They did not score you that round. Here's what I want to see. And it gives you, like, I'm not yelling across the mat to the athlete. Yeah. I get a chance to just, like, talk to him and go, hey, I want you to do this. This is not working. And you get that moment where then you can go get a better performance coming up. So it's like, I know in a year I'm going to eat my words for the round thing. Yeah. But like I'm slowly coming on board because we see performances like this where athletes will actually make a change round to round.
And it makes a more exciting 15 minutes than a straight 15-minute match.
Yeah, because 15-minute match, again, I'm not a huge fan. 15 minutes I think is a bit long for matches. I would love to see if we're going to have rounds, maybe have them be like 3s. for a lot of matches. I think 9 minutes is still a pretty long match.
But if you think about 3 minutes and then stopping and starting again, 3 minutes isn't long enough to really do anything.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's kind of like when they do amateur MMA and they do twos.
Yeah, I've got a corner
and you're
guy,
like,
a kickboxing with it's 3 twos. That's
like 6 what are you gonna do with 2 minutes?
We're gonna drive 6. I mean, we're gonna drive 2 hours for 6 minutes.
I was supposed to. Somebody was offered. They have combat jiu-jitsu on that card.
Yeah.
And they had offered somebody a match for that, but I guess the guy didn't take it. So I was almost going to be there.
Oh, that's
I would have
funny.
been there.
So yeah, again, we have Taylor Ellis here takes this over Cindy Ung. Really, again, in the later 2 rounds, just sort of figures out Cindy's guard, and I think also we saw Taylor increase her pace and activity too. That stalling penalty, again, if you have open stalling scoring, I think that really changed how she addressed it.
The other thing was Cindy in round 1 had put her in full guard, which stifles activity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think Taylor would have had the same pace if she wasn't stuck in the guard for the first round.
Yeah, possibly.
I've watched Taylor.
Yeah, she's pretty aggressive. She's pretty
aggressive all the time.
I think I've seen her main character, and I was like, yeah, she's going for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the match. Taylor Ellis takes that from B team again, makes a big trek up here from Austin, Texas, which again I like that the finishers brings or has people come up and do these things. So anything else on this match?
Nope.
Next match we have Alex Nguyen versus Cathryn Discanni. What round was this in? What round did she get her in?
Second.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Alex has been competing locally for a very long time.
Yes.
I've seen her compete.
Have you competed against her?
No.
Okay.
She's too little for me.
Oh, this is.
I've never been that little.
This is the 115
This is
pound.
115.
Oh, so
I've only won against Kat because I used to cut to 125 and Kat came up to 125
I remember
to
that.
see me once.
So sorry, last match was at Taylor Ellis is now the 125 pound champion for finishers. This was for the 115 pound title.
Yeah.
Some context there.
115 is a little small for me. I don't think I've ever been 115, but
no. You did ADCC at 120, right?
At 121, and that was
a rough
there's
cut.
no way I would have been able to actually compete at that weight because I think I was 130 by the time.
Oh wow! It was day before weigh-in, wasn't it?
Yeah, we plumped me back.
I remember
up.
that. Yep.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, that was not good. So yeah, Alex has been competing and kind of destroying everyone since she was a child.
I think that's literally since she was in her teens.
Yes, since she was.
I remember seeing her.
I
in
remember
her teens
seeing her as when I was a white belt, which was 10 years ago, doing this, and she was the 115, 135 here and Midwest finishers. She has multiple championships right now.
Yes,
going on. And she's very, very difficult to deal with.
I was impressed. Kat initially did pretty well with the legs. She goes to the legs early, and she forces a lot of exchanges from Nguyen. Yeah. And then in the second round, we see Nguyen sort of be able to get out of that.
And Kat is not easy to deal with.
No.
Because I rolled with Kat last weekend getting ready for this, and she beat the living shit out of me. So she's not a lot. She will go, and she goes after you. She did have some really good bites on Alex's legs quite a few times. Alex did the smart thing, wrestling up into single legs to take her down so that she couldn't
Has Alex got a standard?
Wrestle with her. What?
Alex got a standard now?
Yeah. She's with
DeAndre.
Yeah.
Okay, not Gavin.
And and but she used to be at either Lineage or one of those schools.
One of the local schools to us.
She used to be at one of the schools. No, Montgomery County. She was always in that
okay, so
Montgomery
45
County
minutes
area.
from me.
Yeah, but she wasn't at standard. I don't think the entire time. So Kat definitely had some good looks at her legs, but they're also 115 pound women, which means they bend in ways that.
Oh yeah, that's always it's always the
feet bend. You can try to toe hold them, and their toes just somehow bend in half, and it's just completely fine.
Yeah, that flexibility factor is something that we don't get a chance to talk about a lot because we don't get a chance to cover the women that are at this weight. My Sabasas is sort of on the smaller end of typically women we cover.
I do have to say, even for the 50-50 exchanges, normally I get a little bored by smaller people 50-50 exchanges when there isn't a lot going on.
Because you know they're not going to rip a leg off.
No, because they're
time.
just like sitting there and nothing happens. But for them, they were moving. Like it was rolling, you know.
You had good
and
attack
trying to go
sequences on
after
both
each other's.
ends, and you had actually like good defense and then counterplay out of it, which was nice. Again, one thing I liked in the last like year, we're starting to see more people. I think we have ebbs and flows, but right now I think we're in a really good ebb and flow for 50-50 play. Like people are getting into it, doing something with it, and then getting out of it.
I think they also know they can get penalties from it.
Yeah, which is something we've talked about was needed for years and years and years. I mean, back in like the early days of even before Grappling Rewind, like 2015, we were talking about it then. Like, hey, 50-50 needs to have like a mandatory, almost like a clock watch time where it's like you've either got to be doing something with it. You can't be sitting in the open, double-seated open guard there, like waiting to counter. You have to be actively shooting for something.
Yeah, and they were actively going after each other, and there was just one exchange where Kat tries to get her guard back and Alex just jumps on her arm. Yeah. And it's just
there's not a whole lot more. That is sort of what happened. Just jumps off. And then I wish the camera angle, we had a different camera angle.
I wish it was lighter because I could tell they were going after leg exchanges, but I had no idea what they were actually doing.
Yeah, it was a little far away. Like I wish they had a little bit more zoomed in camera or a second camera angle. They turned all the lights off for this event, which I didn't love. Like
sometimes they do that, and then they
turn it back on usually.
They use they use a specific light on the competitors themselves. Yeah, like they light up that area, but it was dark. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it was tough.
I could tell they were going after their legs. I could tell kind of where their feet were, but I really didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. And I know both of them have a very good leg game, so I'd like to know if they were what they were progressing from and to, and all that kind of fun stuff.
But Nguyen gets an armbar here. She retains the 115-pound title after that sequence. Again, I'm very curious to see who finishes is kind of able to bring in semi-locally to kind of take her on.
Probably like, is it Sophia? Is that her last name? Is her name?
Yes.
She just got her black belt.
Okay.
From the Jersey, like Silver Fox.
Okay.
You know,
that'd be good. Yep, I know you're talking about now. I can't. I'm blanking on the rest of her name.
Sophie Dog. Her nickname is Dog, and her last name is something, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, that would be.
She just got her black belt. She's about that same size. We have. She doesn't do no-gi. I would say Brenda wins a bunch of stuff, but Brenda doesn't do no-gi.
Right, she's a gi competitor.
Yeah, but she's that size. Like I'm trying to think of like 115ers in women. There's
essentially
only so
what is
atom
weight.
Yeah, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do from there. Or if we get some new 115ers, because the kids are getting older. Yeah, that's always it's the women's weight class that does the same thing that the men's do at 145. You're like, you come through them and then you end up somewhere else at the end. Heavyweight match, final match to talk about for finishers here. Yeah. We had a main event of Pat Shangholi versus Cody Gamble. Allegedly, they were talking a bunch of shit before this match.
That
doesn't surprise me.
Given Pat's response when he gets the heel hook, doesn't really surprise me because Pat seemed like that's not usually. He's usually a little animated. He was extremely animated when he won this. Yeah, in a way that was like, that was interesting. This was a Pat Shangholi win. Yeah, so Cody Gamble starts to like get over top Shangholi's guard, and
Shangholi has a very bendy guard for being the size he is. Yeah, he's a very flexible gentleman.
He's gotten even bigger too. Like, cause remember, we've been covering Pat since he was probably like 50, maybe earlier than that, 13.
And we're not saying like fat or bigger. We're saying bigger. Yeah, like taller.
He's a full-grown adult now.
He's adult size,
and he's got to be 6. He's got to be 6 foot almost, doesn't he?
He's a big dude.
His dad's big. He's big as well. And I didn't notice it until he stood up next to Cody Gamble. I was like, oh, because when he stood up when he won, I was like, oh, Pat's way bigger and taller than he used to be. And he's
super flexible. Like, he can put his feet behind his head probably.
Yes.
Like,
and he has a really, really good false reap entry that he'll throw from the guard. And because you have to get close enough to his guard to be able to pass it, because he can pull his feet to his chest, like, he plays this weird... at a heavyweight, it's uncommon. Yeah. Where it's like, it's kind of a butt scoot mobile guard that you have to engage in, but you can't really flat pass into north-south.
And he's been doing it since he was a kid.
Yes. It's again, he plays the same game that he was playing when he was like 14 or like 13.
And it's always, this is basically every match he's had.
Yeah, every match that he wins in a highlight reel fashion, it is he either gets into the inside leg or he goes full sweep here. He gets to the outside, and then he starts to sort of heel hook Gamble, but Gamble taps like way before this even.
I would have tapped.
I would have too,
Yeah.
because Pat is also known for just gripping and ripping, which again, it's not he definitely doesn't make a lot of fans from that style, but it's also you are competing at whatever level you're competing at.
Yeah.
There's no rule that ever says that you have to apply it slowly and control it. No, man, if I can get you and get the ligament, it is perfectly allowed. And so Pat takes that approach in competing, and so Gamble taps quickly because you know that when Pat gets it, he's gonna go super hard on it. And so I think it's an interesting kind of tactical discussion about the way that kind of Pat approaches a lot of these. We've seen Pat have good success in the finisher scene at Sogi, at other tournaments. When he goes into trials, like, guys have more or less sort of figured out what they need to do, how to kind of play around his pacing and play around his distance management. And then at Fight Pass Invitational, we saw him versus like Mason Fowler, and like there's just, he has more to kind of build on. But performances like this, again, just as he gets bigger, I'm very curious if moving now into like an adult size, adult strength, and having that style of just like being willing and just to rip through your legs, what additional tools he will bring, and like how people will have to address him tactically, because now he will probably be stronger than a lot of the guys, even at heavyweight he was before, now that he is even bigger. So it's
I didn't realize.
Interesting.
So Cody Gamble was one of the gentlemen that did remember the 3-on-1 match
with Nicky Rod.
With Nicky Rod.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was the big guy.
His name seemed really familiar.
Well, and I started going through because I knew there was some kind of weird history between him and Pat. And I was trying to figure out if I could figure it out real quick, but I can't. But he's like this ginormous, jacked gentleman.
Yeah, he's big.
And there's him beating up some 10th Planet guy, but I can't figure out who it is he's beating up. So I don't know if maybe that was what the thing was about. Because it was something about trials, but I don't know what it was.
Okay. Did he fight him at trials?
I don't think so, because I think he lost to somebody that Shangholi beat or lost to somebody big at trials, I thought.
Okay. I don't exactly remember.
Yeah.
But again, the match is pretty short. This is how Pat plays. This is what Pat does. And very few guys can sort of consistently get out of that heel hook. You got to go to like a trials, like a Fight Pass Invitational, or like an EBI, where he's running up against typically ranked guys.
Or you have to know how to pass him, which like Mason Fowler did a really good job passing him.
Yes. But again, Fowler's like one of the best in the world.
You
like
have you also have to have size. You have to be able to leverage your size against him.
Yes.
And that's something
going to be even harder as he gets bigger. And that's kind of my thought process here in watching this match, not to cut you off. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Is like, now that he has that additional size, guys that previously could kind of leverage some strength and like some attributes against him, I am very curious if Pat will continue to develop his game so that like, that avenue is just going to be even harder to deal with now, because he's enormous and strong and kind of long-legged, and man, he pulls that false reap very, very quickly from the bottom.
Yeah.
So,
I
interesting.
don't know. They did go against each other at trials. So I bet you he beat him at trials.
Okay, I think this is.
I think Cody beat him at 2023 East Coast trials.
I think I remember.
Oh, I did watch this match.
Yeah, because I interviewed Pat directly after this match.
Oh, okay.
That's why. Because Pat lost, and then shortly after, I did an interview, and you can find the interview with Pat and I. And I thought it was. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't remember.
No, it is.
So that makes sense. So this is a rematch. So this again, this makes more sense.
It's also a different rule set.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Where in ADCC, you could kind of play on the outside maybe a little bit, and you could play a more tentative game.
I think Cody passes him in choke. I think it's a choke. It's like a scarf hold choke
or
something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I remember this now. Yeah.
And you can listen.
And he could have just wore him out.
You can listen to the interview that I did with Pat. Pat kind of talks about it a little bit of like kind of his thought process, and like he actually ended up having an extra buy.
Maybe you should tag your interview with him in the comments of this podcast.
I will do that then. But he talked about like having an extra buy that he didn't expect to have, and then he didn't get a chance to have any matches prior to this match.
He did go straight into like day 2 or something.
And he was like, I didn't really want that. I wanted to be like, can I get my feet under me again? And then here's the history for it. Pat now, again, retains the heavyweight title versus Cody Gamble. I think he's going to continue to be a problem for big dudes, especially on the
They
regional
haven't
scene.
found anybody to beat him at heavyweight.
No.
They haven't.
You're going to have to bring, you're going to really have to start bringing in guys like ranked heavyweights.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be really the only guys that have a plan and a thought process to beat him. So it is very interesting. That is all I have on finishers. There were some other fun matches on the card. You should watch it. Again, it's like an hour and a half. It's not a super long card.
Which, when they initially announced it and they said it was like the 6 p.m. start time or whatever start time it was, I was like, those people are going to be there until 1 o'clock, just like I was. And then they weren't. And I was like, wow, they learned from keeping us there all night.
Yeah.
That one time.
But again, it's good. We talk about it a lot for events we cover. We'll talk about AIGA here in a second.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, the 2.5 hour slot for most sporting events for jiu-jitsu is really where it's at.
Yeah.
I think that, most events you can run like a tournament style event, have a couple of super fights, but overall, I've never been mad at getting out of a jiu-jitsu event 2.5 hours.
No.
Like, it's like, oh, that was a cool card. I
As
had
long
a
as you're
good
not
evening.
making me pay an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Then I want more.
I want my money's worth.
I want my money's
I fly
worth.
to Vegas. I want to watch 18 hours of CGI in ADCC.
Yeah.
I want to sit in those seats for 12 hours. Like, that's what I paid for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Finishers is doing a really good thing, moving to CGI rules. I would love to see him get a pit wall.
Doesn't seem to be a hard thing to build.
I would love to see it. We're building one at our gym. We built one. I'm excited. So I would love to see it. But yeah, that events are a lot of fun. They're free on YouTube. You have no reason to not watch it. Let's talk about. You want to talk quickly about Fight to Win, or you want to talk about AIGA?
Let's talk about Fight to Win.
So we did commentary for Fight to Win. Main event was Angelo Claiborne and Andrew Cockle. And Angelo hits a really nice heel hook in the scramble.
Yeah.
You hear our commentary. Again, I actually was really happy with our commentary here because we kind of break down why Andrew is so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's basically that he's pretty good everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's very quick and he's unorthodox enough, but because he is still good in a lot of places, you really have to lock him down.
Well, and it's like you have to worry about your head, and the next thing you know, he's on your feet, and he
will jump and guillotine you.
He overwhelms you in a way that you don't really know what he's going to do, and you have to control him.
Mm-hmm. And the guys we can see, they can beat him with any level of consistency. Like, they just play almost like an old school game of cool, I know this guy's going to throw the kitchen sink at me. And that's one thing that Andrew is so good at doing, of just keeping on the defensive. You can I got to slow him down. I got to put him on his back. I got to get him in a guard passing position. I have to not let him get long and rangy. Because Andrew, we were talking about this before we actually commentary started.
Yeah.
Of we were curious. We were trying to think back to trials, what weight class Andrew did, because I always in my head have him as a 170er, and then he walked in, and I looked at Miranda, and I was like, ain't no way he matches at 170.
Yeah, and we know some people that go against him at 185.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember if it was 185 or 190 because he just doesn't he's one of those people that his body type, you look from afar looking at him, and I'm bad at figuring out what people weigh anyway. He looks almost like a 170, but then you up close, you're like, oh no, you're
he's got broad shoulders, he's got a thick chest, he's got really long legs. And you saw that in this match, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Andrew does something that throws a ton of guys off, and even kind of threw Angelo Claiborne off a little bit. Was he'll pop your head, and then he'll immediately fall directly into your legs. But he does it in a way that falls in front of you and almost baits you to sort of come into his guard. And he will just get your leg and he'll grab, and he has good enough, quick enough leg entries that he gets a lot of people with that approach. And then he will also be willing to wrestle you up or take your back or scramble with you, or he just has all of these things that he's very happy to interplay with.
Yeah.
The minute you start engaging with whatever he is throwing at you, he's just cool. Now you're engaged with me. We're in my game. You're going to have to counter whatever I'm doing because I have the initiative. And a lot of guys just can't pull themselves out of that. Angelo Claiborne is able to attack Andrew's foot, a foot that I think he had a previous injury on.
Yeah. So behind the curtain, we didn't say it on Fight to Win. Partially also because Andrew then did a match for Arena yesterday.
Yeah, you hadn't said anything yet.
So I wasn't gonna say that out loud, but Andrew did something to one of his feet earlier, a month or so ago.
Not very long ago.
Not very long ago. He was in a boot. So he had pulled out of some other matches since then. So that is sort of the reaction that Fight to Win had, because if you watch him, like as soon as Angelo grabs it, like he's tapping and then he's not getting up. Like and normally it's very, very hard to put Kochel down.
Dude, it's
it's almost impossible.
I commentated an arena match for him in like 2018. That was him versus Mateus Lutz, and it was 45 minutes of Mateus on his back, unable to finish him.
Yeah,
and it was just like, and we had to keep. I was like,
a lot to deal with.
Dude, Mateus Lutz was like a brown belt at the time, world champion level, like right up on. Like he was like gonna be the next guy, and it took him like 45 minutes to eventually just like wear Andrew down enough to just go. And you saw him just like hunting the entire time for it. That is how hard Andrew is to put away. So again, it makes sense that he had a pre-existing issue.
Points is where he gets most of his losses.
That would make sense given his style.
Yeah, like
he's not going to lose a decision.
Like Keith Kirchik, or
Kieran
Kirchik, won against him at trials and it was points.
Yeah,
like, and I think that's the only time. That's the only way you can really get him. Like, besides,
you can flash sub him, but like it's
I don't know what you're gonna get on him, because I'm pretty sure he'll let everything break. Maybe not the foot that's already hurt, but like I'm sure that he's gonna let a lot of shit go.
It was a fun main event. I think who took out Angelo at Claiborne at trials? It was J-Rod, right?
J-Rod took him out by 2 points.
So again, this was a very fun main event to happen for. Again, I've commented a bunch of matches for Andrew,
and both relatively local gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean Angelo's out of TLI, which is right down in Silver Spring, Maryland, and then Andrew's out of Valley Jiu-Jitsu, which is in Delaware, I think. Or PA? I
think it's PA.
Okay. I always forget if Valley's in Delaware or PA.
I think it's PA. I think they're talking about the Delaware Valley, which is in PA.
Oh, okay.
The Delaware River is in PA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That whole area is all
prolific competitors that we've seen a lot for around, and I think this actually was the first time that they met each other, because I think Angelo typically does more IBJJF. And then they'll both do trials. Yeah, and then Andrew does more super fights and local.
Yeah, and I think Angelo did a lot of gi for years and years and years. And then he started doing the ADCC Opens.
Because Elijah, he was with Dorsey. Yeah. And they had another, so they had, the guy's wrestler? Garrett.
Line.
Give me his name, because.
It was Garrett, and he was a Notre Dame College 2-time NCAA champion.
He was on the card as well. If that dude goes into ADCC, he's going to be a problem, because apparently
Garrett Lineberger.
Yeah, go back and watch his match.
He's a freaking beast.
He is.
He also runs like the Maryland State Championships wrestling like team.
Okay.
Thingamajig.
This makes sense. It was a gentleman I wasn't super familiar with.
He runs a bunch of wrestling shit.
He looked like a stud wrestler on Fight to Win. It was really fun to get a chance to commentate his match as well. Go back and find his match. He
went against the teammate of Andrew Kochel. Andrew Cockle.
Okay.
Took me a second.
It was a very fun match, and you just got to see like really, really fun, very high level wrestling. Yeah. And he is allegedly the TLI wrestling coach, which would make sense as well. Like why that entire team, to see him Garrett wrestle live, and then you watch like Angelo and Elijah and like a lot of the guys that have done well in ADCC.
You also watched all them wrestle. And because they carpooled for years. Everybody I knew at TLI carpooled.
They get some judo too.
Yeah.
You get some judo, but
generally,
like the standard traditional wrestling, like they could do it, and then suddenly they got kind of good at it, and you're like, oh, that guy's probably
because I don't remember Elijah Dorsey having amazing wrestling initially. No. And then all of a sudden
even early black belt now.
So
it was a very fun night of matches.
I think he's only like a blue belt. Because I think he went against a purple, but he's a blue belt.
And that's the biggest air quotes there. It's like you have Notre Dame national titles. Like, yeah, man, you
well, it's not. It's Notre Dame College, not Notre Dame University of Notre Dame.
Okay,
which are two different schools, but still high
very
level,
good, very
high level.
And go back and watch this match. You can see the kind of wrestling that we are talking about.
Yeah,
very.
And
impressive.
The guy who went against him wasn't a bad wrestler either.
No,
he did a really good job defending. I mean, he knew what was going on,
and he kept standing with him. I think it was cool. Yeah. You saw him continue to stand over and over again. I was like, "Ooh, he wants to see how this plays out."
And then we saw a big man drop Sayanagi.
Yes, it was a fun night. It was a fun card. It was Ricardo Rivera.
Yeah,
did it, and it. Yeah,
and then,
it was a very fun night.
We saw some fun stuff. It was good times.
So let's talk about, we have a little more time here. Let's talk about AIGA. So AIGA championships happened this weekend. like I said in the preview of the show, we have not had a chance to watch all of it. I have pieced through. It is 2 days of matches. There are 6 teams in total, and how AIGA runs is you field a member from 65 kilos, 75 kilos, 83 kilos, 91 kilos, 90 plus 91 kilos, 70 kilos, and 60 kilos. I'm reading just in order here that they have. So basically, you field 7 guys. It's the best of 4, and they will run 7 matches regardless. So each team goes against each other for 7, and you get anywhere from 2-team matches to 3-team matches. Like Team 10th Planet and Team Checkmat had 3-team matches because they were both in the finals. They both had records that put them into day 2 in those finals. But it's like a big round robin. There are an enormous amount of matches because essentially we have 7.
And you have 3 rounds per match.
Yeah, it's a lot of jiu-jitsu, but we were kind of talking about, where are all the guys locally at Fight to Win? A lot of them were here at AIGA. So overall, we have Team Checkmat winning this entire thing, and they are moving on to the World Championship finals, I think, or the final tournament for the World Championship, and Team 10th Planet also got an invite because of their performance here on the day. Team Checkmat went 3-0 at the event, so they won, I think, 1 or 2 day 1 and 1 or 2 day 2. Team 10th Planet went 1-2. Team Finishers went 1-1. Team Fight Sports went 1-1. Vanguard went 1-1. Legion went 0-2. Legion didn't field someone in under 60 kilos, so they had a bunch of losses based on just walkover.
We also had the one dude that decided, I'm not making weight today. I'm just going to give a guy points.
Who was that? So there's also, so AIGA has really interesting rules.
The Checkmat guy. He won anyway.
Yeah.
We have Michael
Equivalis.
Yeah, of Checkmat, who didn't make weight, so he just gave up. Oh, no.
No, it's not him.
It's not him.
It's, here it is.
There we go.
Igor Morea.
From Checkmat, who just decided he wasn't going to make weight. So he gave 4 pounds, or 4
points.
I can't talk today. 4 points in every round to his opponent.
Yeah, so he in his match versus Chris Crawford, basically Chris Crawford has 4 points in every round, and then Moreira in the first round gets 5 points, so he wins that round. Second round gets 5 points, and third round doesn't get any points, so Chris wins that round. But
there's another AIGA guy, and I wish I would have looked up what his name was, who does the same thing. Mm-hmm. He never makes weight, and he just like is just like whatever.
He just eats the points. But again, so AIGA I find it very hard to cover because both events, I think it's like about 11 hours of matches in total. It's just very hard to cover. Gio Martinez almost had a twister in this. There's a clip of Eddie Bravo going around of him yelling at Gio Martinez to not twister. He goes, "No, I hate the twister. No twister, no twister." Because they're banned at AIGA.
Oh. And
so Gio Martinez, the clip that Flo has is amazing. The cutting on it is amazing. It's just him looking at Eddie Bravo and making this weird face like, why can't I do that? And he's like, he goes to something else. Yeah. And then Eddie's like, yeah, man, I'm trying to communicate him that you cannot twister in the tournament. And Gio's looking at me like, I thought you liked this. Yeah. And it's a very funny interaction.
But he got injured? It says he pulled withdrew due to injury.
For the main, if he was under 65, I don't know. Again, I haven't had a chance to piece through. I watched some of this. UWW World Championships also happened this weekend. Our buddy John Hansen was there. I watched a couple of his matches. It was a huge weekend of events, and so I just haven't had a chance to pull through. Notable names on this card and some matches that you should watch. Francisco Lowe was back. I haven't seen him really since his injury at the Worlds. I think he's competed a little bit. He had a bunch of arm bars. I think he was the best guy on team.
Yeah, he got 3.
Team Checkmat. Yeah. He has 3 submissions, so he's the top performer on Team Checkmat. I think arm bars and a footlock is what he got. We had Elder Cruz, had some really phenomenal guard passing in the final match versus Kevin Burbrick. We had Ben Eddy earlier in the finals match versus Checkmat, hitting a Hindulatine. He tries for it the first round. He doesn't get the first round. In the second round, he was able to get it, and that was very interesting. We also had in Fight to Win, we had a guy hit a Hindulatine as well. Yeah. Which was fun to watch. I was like, he's gonna go for a Hindulatine. I'm gonna get to commentate this. Yeah. And he gets it. We had Ryan.
So there's 2 of those this weekend.
Yeah, and only one of them was Ben Eddy, which is usually.
Well, the funny story that we got told by Jack. Yeah. Was that that Ben Eddy
did it to him at trials.
Yeah. And now he got to do it to someone else.
Yeah.
He got to pass on the Hinduatine love.
Mm-hmm. Mateus Luna from Checkmat mounted triangled Sam. I can't give his last name.
Schwartzstappel.
Yep. And Ryan Aiken defeated Dori Arun via points. Again, overall, it was a really, from the pieces that I have seen, it is a very fun tournament. There are just like
it's also
probably close to 80 matches to go through.
I wonder if there were any fights at this tournament, because remember the last AIGA where everybody was fighting?
I don't think there were any at this tournament. Again, I haven't.
You also don't have the international teams. I think there was
This is a U.S. qualifier. So this is basically 2 U.S. teams, Team Checkmat and Team Finishers go. We had Eric Naples here. We had Sid Travalo here. We had Alan Sanchez, Elder Cruz. We had Nick Ronan was on here. We had Josh Saunders on here.
In California, I believe.
Okay. Fabian Ramirez was on here. David Stalecki was on here. We had Kyle Chambers on here. Banetti. Let's see. Who else am I missing? Gio Martinez. Like, it was overall a very, very interesting, fun tournament that I have just not had a chance to digest. Flo has a full write-up of it, of both day 1 and day 2, that we've kind of pulled from here.
Yeah.
I watched all the finals for Team Checkmat versus Team 10th Planet. They're at the end of the day 2 video.
Yeah.
I think the last probably like hour or so of that is that. Again, a lot of them are like 3 rounds, or like not 3 rounds, but a lot of them are multiple rounds. So those matches are like 15 minutes a piece. If you have multiple rounds like that, you easily one of the things that I kind of have a problem with AIGA for us covering it is that it can get really long.
Yeah.
Because you have this duels format, and even if you have a team that wins 4-0, the other 3 matches still happen. So that can add almost an hour of time, which again, I like that guys can't just get walked over, or like can't get like free buys in, where it's like, oh man, he's had 3 matches. This guy has had 0 matches, and you had to face him. You're tired. You've gotten beat up.
Yeah. It
makes it a little more even. But again, it just makes the events very, very long. I think really when they run these, they need to only have they kind of need to run them as dual meets.
Yeah.
They don't, because AIGA has a pretty good format. The events are just very, very long. They're usually 4 to 6 hours a day for 2 days.
Yeah.
And the matches run pretty consistently the entire time.
They're normally over in like Kazakhstan.
Yes, correct.
And they're like $20 to get in. Like
if we ever go there, we're for sure going there. Again, it would be a great thing to watch live.
You go see the big burning pit over in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff there. But again, for us to cover, it is just a lot to cover because there are so many matches.
Yeah.
And it's on an accelerated weekend for us with fight to win commentary, finishers, and other things going on. So overall, I would recommend go back and watch the finals. It's a lot of big names on it. So I hope that clips will come out from the week. I also hope that they will do kind of what they did with Team Moldolfo when they were on there, and part out a lot of the matches so you can watch individual matches, because navigating the 2 videos that are both like 4 to 6 hours long is really, really tough, because you're looking for rounds. So I would love them to break out all the individual matches, because there's some, again, really fun, exciting matches in here. Like Adam Bradley was on the card as well. It's a really cool card. It's just very hard to cover. So go back and watch that. It was neat and fun. I think next week. Oh, also UWW happened. We've tried to cover UWW for years. It's the exact same problem as AIGA, in that we can't find any roster. It's really hard to find results, and the events are it's like 6 mats.
It's possible to find, but it's not the easiest, because I remember I found it the one time.
Yeah.
But it was like it's like in a PDF, and it's like in some corner.
You have to search the PDF, and it's
in some corner of the internet somewhere.
And usually there's 3 or 5 mats to cover that are each running 6 days with no individual matches parted out. So it is just incredibly hard for us to piece and cover through with the accelerated time that we run the show in. So coming up next weekend, we have ADCC in Lima, Peru. The Open is happening there. The ADCC Mexican. Oh no, sorry, those are both happening this weekend. We have the Vancouver Open happening next week in British Columbia for ADCC, and then the following week after that, we're going to have PANS. PANS is happening November 1st, and Polaris is happening that same weekend. So for Polaris main event, we are going to have Dante Leon versus Elias Younger. That should be fun. I don't think either of these guys have faced each other before.
I don't think so either.
We'll kind of go into a full Polaris preview next week. We also have Jed Q versus Keith Krikorian. That's a really fun match. Do we know if those guys have been against each other before?
I don't think they're the same weight class, are they?
Well, because Jed used to be up.
Jed Hugh Little?
No, Jed Hugh, remember, has gone up to 99.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
that? And then so now we're finally seeing Jed come back down into like the lower weight classes. He would welterweight. Now he's back at lightweight. We saw him the first match at Polaris at lightweight last time, and this is kind of a foray for back into the lower weights for Jed. So again, should be fun. We'll preview that in full experience next week. Miranda, anything else going on this week? Anything fun?
I don't think so. I think this is my first week that I don't have a bunch of stuff going on, and then I'm gonna ref on Saturday.
Which one are you reffing?
Liquid Swords.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna go to that, but I'm cornering a fighter up in Delaware.
I'm
that
gonna
day.
ref and coach at the same time.
You competing in it or no?
No, I'm gonna do a women's super fight thing in a couple weeks.
Nice.
But I haven't competed in a while. I haven't really had the greatest experience at brown belt. So I'm taking some time to like figure it out, and then, you know, the stupid injuries that you find yourself into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting old.
Yeah, I'm getting. Yeah, I'm
So-
coaching a bunch of students now. They're like, I'm realizing that gap, that I'm watching like the age gap where it's like you have your young
Yeah,
hungry purple
it's-
belt. I'm like, oh, you physically can do stuff that I can no longer do to my body.
Yeah.
And it's been very funny to watch. Like I have a lot of technique that I can beat you like technically.
Yeah.
But when it becomes a gun battle, I just have to kind of rely on like veteran savvy.
Yeah.
Versus just like being able to just outgas a younger athlete. And I'm like, ooh, this is different than it used to be, because I
Yeah.
used to be the younger athlete, and I was talking to my coach about this, and I was joking about one of the younger guys who's like early 20s, like 21 or something like that, and he like very frankly looks at me and goes, yeah man, that's what it was like for me like 10 years ago with you. And I went, oh, it was this weird like full circle comment of just like, he looked at me and dead and basically went, yeah man, I had to deal with you 10 years ago for the same thing. And I went, oh no, this is how it happens, because I remember all the rounds that I had with my coach like coming through, and then now I'm watching me be the coach on the other end with this younger athlete and going, oh no, it's not going to get better. Like he's only going to get better and better and better and better and better, and I'm going to get better, but not nearly at the rate. And also he has all the things that I have learned and all the experience that I have that I can push to him in like short circuit of like, yeah man, I figured this all out, this is how you should be doing this, or this is the approach that I would suggest taking, where I was sort of figuring out that independently, and like he just has the answers. And so it's been a very funny kind of reality check week, or like probably the last month, of just, oh yeah, they keep getting younger and I keep getting older, and their athleticism is like now becoming more and more of a problem. And it's a neat, great problem to have as a coach, which you finally have guys that are in the younger generation that are like, oh, you're giving me like legitimately good problems just because I can't out athlete you in these spaces that I used to do that. So it's been a fun learning experience, and I'm like, I'm gonna do more commentary now. And like when you compete, I'm like, I just like doing commentary now. I'll compete. I compete like once a year.
I pick and choose my matches nowadays.
I didn't think I'd compete much at black belt, and I'm kind of getting antsy again. I'm like, I can do another one, and I'm like, this is how it happens. It's like once a year, I'm gonna get the itch, and I'm gonna jump into it.
But and you know, I know you don't like to go this direction. IBJJF, because you get age. You can get somebody your age.
I'm gonna get Paulo Miao. I'm gonna get Lucas Pinheiro. Masters division is full of like former world champ.
Well, not if you do.
Get Shane Jamil
not
Taylor.
if you do the freaking Waco Open, or you do some Open in like some kind of weird like.
No offense to anyone that lives in
no
Waco.
Offense, but like if you do Pans, then yes.
Yeah.
But if you do an Open, you do New Jersey Open. New Jersey.
I need to go to like a place where there are no people open. And then what's the point anyway?
True. You're kind of
yeah.
fucked no matter what.
I just need super fights against guys like mid-30s like me, and then that are also gonna like not like, hey man, 155, but we're both not actually 155, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I need.
That's
what I need. Guys that don't want to. I don't want to cut the weight anymore. I don't want to do it. I'm in the most out of shape I've ever been. That's really funny to me, but
me too.
Overall,
gotta love life.
It's been again fun to watch the new generation eat the old generation.
No, it's not.
I'm enjoying the shit of it, Miranda. I'm enjoying the shit. Watching these cards, and I'm like watching guys come out at like, we talked about Alex Nguyen this weekend, and like J-Rod, like people that are in their early 20s, and you're like, oh yeah, you weren't doing this 10 years, 15 years ago, and it's been nice to watch
Alex
the new
Nguyen
generation.
has been doing this.
Well, that doesn't count.
She was, and we saw Jason Chi at Fight to Win.
Yeah, we did see Jason Chi,
and we've been seeing him compete for at least 10 years. And you're like, ugh.
You're like, thank God it's still brown belt. I could get out of his division for a minute. So it's fun. Again, I love what we do. I'm very thankful that we are able to commentate and do the show and do all this stuff that we're able to do. And it's I'm having as good of a time as ever. Miranda, have any other closing thoughts on the week?
No. Don't get old.
Don't get old. As always in the show, I'm your host, Mange, and the co-host,
Miranda.
And we have the Grappling Round. Say Matt Davis. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.